Dr. Broadaway, your license has been revoked again. What do you have to say to your patients?
My questions for dentist Derek Broadaway are 12 years in the making.
Dr. Broadaway, it's been 12 years investigating what you've done to your patients. What do you have to say to your patients?
Can you get away from me?
What do you have to say to your patients who have had pain?
No one's had any pain.
I'm News 3 investigator Jessica Larche in Henrico. I'm about to explain what led to this moment on May 17th, after the Virginia Board of Dentistry voted to revoke Broadaway's dental license for the second time in 10 years, citing his history of negligent and dangerous care, calling him a danger to the health and welfare of his patients and the public. November 2012 marked my first encounter with Dr. Broadaway.
Can I ask you about the paychecks that are bouncing to employees?
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Days earlier, employees at his Chesapeake dental office reached out to me. They shared copies of their bounced payroll checks.
I saw this as the end result to getting my money that I work for.
After my report aired,
Mr. Broadaway, what do you have to say about these charges against you?
Broadaway turned himself in to Chesapeake police for those bad checks charges. I'll tell you what a judge would decide in just a moment. But first, those bad checks charges in 2012 prompted me to look deeper into the dentist. I found his troubling and public disciplinary history with the Board of Dentistry dating back to 2009. Records show Broadaway drilled too deep into a tooth, resulting in severe pain, leading to Broadaway's recommendation for root canal therapy. Broadaway failed to inform a patient that he did not finish the root canal therapy he started. Broadaway failed to consistently document names of patients on each page of their respective dental records. And he failed to document the type and or amount of anesthesia in a procedure.
If I had known, I would have never stepped foot in that dentist's office. Never.
Former Broadaway patient Rosemary Rogers opened up to me in 2012. Records show Broadaway placed an ill-fitting crown on her tooth and altered her records after she requested a copy of her records with treatment notes containing information that, in comparison to the notes maintained in his office, show additions to the entries reportedly added after the actual dates of treatment. Her case, in part, led to the board's suspension of his license for 60 days and a $20,000 fine. In fact, records show the Board of Dentistry routinely reprimanded what they described as Broadaway's negligent and dangerous care, deceptive billing practices, and record-keeping violations with monetary penalties, probation, suspensions, and continuing education.
And I can't even imagine how much money and pain and suffering he has caused other people over the years.
The Board of Dentistry is a group of Virginia licensed dentists and dental hygienists. They're appointed by the governor to 4-year terms. They're responsible for licensing and reprimanding dentists. That includes the power to revoke a license. Rogers was frustrated that the board, no matter who was serving at any given time, allowed Broadaway to keep his license up to that point.
What's it going to take for the state to take away his license? How many victims do there have to be?
Records show there have been more than 50 patients with confirmed complaints about Broadaway since 2002, including Lamar Price.
It's reliving a nightmare, the same nightmare that it was the day I walked into his office.
Price first opened up to me in 2013. Records show Broadaway left a root tip behind during a procedure, causing an ongoing infection.
I did not expect to leave out of there losing teeth, healthy teeth, and that's what happened.
It's like ridiculous.
You said it's effing ridiculous?
It is.
Remember those bad checks charges from 2012?
You said you were sorry in court. You don't have anything to say now?
Nice day. Bye.
I was there in March of 2014 when a Chesapeake judge sentenced him to a year behind bars on each of 3 misdemeanor bad checks charges. But the judge suspended the time. The following month, on April 3rd, 2014, the Board of Dentistry voted to suspend Broadaway's dental license, calling him a substantial danger to public health and safety. Weeks later, on May 9th, 2014, the board held a hearing about Broadaway's license at the Department of Health Professionals headquarters in Henrico.
Every day I wake up, there was pus in my mouth.
Remember Lamar Price? He testified before the board that day. So did several other Broadaway patients and dentists who said they had to correct Broadaway's work. Broadaway maintained his innocence at every turn, but the board voted to revoke his license.
I was in the room for that hearing a decade ago, so why am I back here in 2024?
I'll answer that question on the other side of the break. You're watching News 3. During a Board of Dentistry hearing on December 12, 2019, the board, comprised of these members at the time, voted to reinstate Broadaway's license, stipulating that he practice in a group, public or private dental practice setting and be subject to unannounced inspections. Two of those board members present that day still serve on the board now, but they were not present at this hearing on May 17th.
And answered the charges.
Where Broadaway defended himself against Virginia Assistant Attorney General Sean Murphy's case against him.
There's nothing this board can do to make the citizens of the Commonwealth safe except to revoke response license.
This woman, referred to in public records and at the hearing as Patient A, testified at the public hearing.
Something he felt odd of Novocaine. Giving me a shot, it still hurt, he did more.
She said Broadaway treated her for a hole in her tooth last year at an emergency dental care practice up in Arlington.
Then the person who was behind the front desk came to assist him.
She said that encounter left her concerned, so she looked him up.
Initially I did a Google search, and there were some news articles that popped up. I was just shocked and appalled by his history of patient treatment.
The patient never returned to office complaining of pain when treatment was done.
The patient still sought out a second opinion from another Arlington dentist, Dr. Kevin Mystery.
Is the type of care that you saw prior to you, is that normal apart from the course?
No, it's more of the standard care.
Dr. Mystery told the board Broadaway nicked a healthy tooth.
He said the tooth was nicked, but I do admit to that. I'm sorry about that.
But Broadaway disputed the dentist's observation that he failed to recognize and remove decay before placing a temporary crown on the patient's tooth.
What was your plan for that open margin?
Board members questioned Broadaway about his dental work.
I admit to the margin. I'm sorry about that.
Looks of concern and confusion followed many of Broadaway's answers. He continued to defend himself against accusations of negligence and deceptive billing practices.
This is false allegation.
He made this plea to the board.
I'm sorry for anything I've done, but it appears that there's some things that I've done or have not done based on ignorance and not incompetence. And I was just hoping the board would take that into consideration.
Moments later,
All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
the board revoked Broadaway's license for the second time in 10 years.
Why do you continue to keep practicing dentistry when you have a history of negligence?
No answer from Broadaway, but that's a better question for those who've sat on the Board of Dentistry over the years. A question the current board's director of communications tells me current board members won't answer, pointing me instead to the board's public orders. But it's this body's years-long history of how they handled Broadaway that prompted this patient to speak up.
I just want to protect, other people in the Commonwealth of Virginia from going through the same thing and having this same experience.
Your patients will watch this. What do you have to say to them?
Have a nice day.
Now, the board's revocation of Broadaway's license doesn't mean his days as a dentist are done. According to this order, Broadaway can seek reinstatement in 3 years, and 3/4 of the board would need to approve it. I'll follow through and let you know if that happens. As we've reported, state medical boards have had a history of allowing medical professionals with troubling pasts the ability to continue practicing in Virginia. So how do you protect yourself? Inside this story at WTKR.com, I'm walking you through how you can look up the disciplinary records for medical professionals licensed in Virginia.
It did bring back a lot of memories of what happened, and it wasn't easy.
Rosemary Dybel.
It was horrible. It was really horrible.
In disbelief that the Virginia Beach dentist she first opened up to me about in 2012
If I had known, I would have never stepped foot in that dentist's office. Never.
was ever granted another chance to practice dentistry in Virginia after the board determined Broadaway altered her records and placed an ill-fitting crown on her tooth, causing pain. Her complaints were among dozens that preceded the board's decision to revoke Broadaway's license in 2014 when they called him a substantial danger to public health and safety.
Their own words are that he is a danger to the public. So what does that make them? That they keep releasing a danger to the public back to the public.
There are several more patients and dentists that are expected to testify today.
I was reporting live in Henrico in 2014 when the Board of Dentistry, a revolving group of dentists and dental hygienists appointed by the governor, held a hearing about Broadaway's license. 2 years after my investigations into his Chesapeake and Virginia Beach practices started airing on News 3. Records show there'd been more than 50 patients with confirmed complaints to the board about Broadaway since 2002. Including when he drilled too deep into a tooth, resulting in severe pain, leading to Broadaway's recommendation for root canal therapy, and when he failed to document the type and/or amount of anesthesia in a procedure.
It's like ridiculous.
You said it's effing ridiculous?
It is.
I was also at the Chesapeake courthouse in 2014 when Broadaway pleaded guilty to writing bad checks to his employees. He didn't serve any jail time on those misdemeanor charges, but the board knew about his conviction when they decided to revoke his license that year. Dybel shared her relief with me back then.
I really pray that they do not even think about reinstating his license.
But during a Board of Dentistry hearing on December 12, 2019, the board, comprised of a new group of members, voted to reinstate Broadaway's license, stipulating that he practice in a group, public or private dental practice setting and be subject to unannounced inspections.
We go to the courts, we go to the boards. We think that these people who have the power to do something are going to do something, and they don't. The bottom line is they don't do what they need to do to protect us.
Less than 5 years after the board's 2019 decision to reinstate Broadaway,
I was just shocked and appalled by his history of patient treatment.
new Broadaway patients came forward, including a woman who testified during this year's hearing about his license. Records reveal that when Broadaway treated her in 2023 for a hole in her tooth at a practice in Arlington, he nicked a healthy tooth, and he failed to remove decay before placing a crown on the tooth.
When I watched it, I was like, wow, it sounds exactly like nothing has changed.
Lamar Price is a former Broadaway patient. He first opened up to me about his experience with the dentist in Hampton Roads back in 2013.
Every day I would wake up, there was pus in my mouth.
And again in 2014 when he testified at Broadaway's first revocation hearing. Records show Broadaway left a root tip behind during Price's procedure, causing an ongoing infection.
What was supposed to be just a very minor routine turned into me permanently losing healthy teeth.
Would you have imagined that 10 years later, we'd be talking about this again?
No, quite honestly, no. I didn't think that he would ever practice again, at least not in Virginia.
Do you think the board should have lifted his revocation in 2019?
No, we're back here now. So that's confirmation that it should not have happened.
There's nothing this board can do to make the citizens of the Commonwealth safe except to revoke responses.
That's the Virginia Assistant Attorney General moments after laying out accusations of Broadaway's negligence and deceptive billing practices during that May 17th hearing before the board this year.
Innocent charges.
But in the end,
All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
the board voted to revoke his license again. However, according to the board's revocation order, Broadaway can seek reinstatement in 3 years.
It's absolutely ridiculous that he is going to yet again have the opportunity to have his license reinstated. This should not be happening.
The board's current director of communications told me board members will not comment on how they come to decisions, pointing me instead to public orders. But more than a decade ago, the board's executive director at the time answered my question like this in 2013.
How is it that a dentist like that is still allowed to practice?
It's a judgment call of the board. And I mean, I can't elaborate.
It's the literal definition of insanity to keep allowing these negligent practitioners back into the public.
What is your message to the Board of Dentistry now?
Would you allow your daughter to go to this dentist? If not, why? And why do you think it's okay to keep allowing him to practice on other people? These dentists don't come with a warning label. Thank God for you. Seriously, thank God for you and the news station for pursuing this all these years.